Okay, so in this tutorial I will be showing you how to create a shield logo similar to what you see here using Inkscape. Before you get started, you're going to want to download this font here. It's called Bebas. I've included a link to it in the description. It is a free download, so go ahead and download and install that before we get started. Okay, so when you open up Inkscape, this should be your view. We're going to go to View. Make sure you have custom selected, zoom, view, zoom, zoom 1:1. You're going to click that. File, document properties, uncheck these two boxes, close that out, and come up here to our Align and Distribute menu. We're going to click that and open it up. And the drop down right here, you want to have last selected chosen, okay? Then come over here to the Edit Objects Color Gradient Stroke. We're going to click that and open that menu up. And then we're ready to go. So the first thing we do is we're going to draw our shield. We're going to go to the Bezier pen right here, click on that, and come down here to the lower portion of your screen. Click once, hold the Control key, and drag the line straight up. I'd say to about there. Click, and still holding Control, bring this out to the left. About here, I'd say, and drop it down one step, kind of like that. You want it to be about that long. I think that's good. Click. Now let go of the Control key and just drag this line back to the starting point, and we're going to connect it all together. So go ahead and click that. Come over here and turn it red. Come over here to the opacity slider and slide that in half. Slide that halfway through. And come up to the stroke tab. Let's click on that, and let's click on this X right here. Let's get rid of the stroke around the object. So we should end up with something like that. Next, we're going to go to the Edit Paths by Nodes and click on that. And then we're going to come down here to this bottom edge right here, and we're just going to click that and drag that out a little bit like that. Okay? And after you've done that, click on this top corner right here, top left corner, and go down to the handle right here, click on that, hold Control, and just drag it straight down to about there, I'd say. And come down over here to this bottom handle and click on that, hold Control, and bring it to about here. You want to have it going at a 90-degree angle, I'd say. About maybe, yeah, not 90 degrees, the next one down from 90 degrees. So just bring your mouse down and it should do that automatically. So I'd say about that is good. And come up here to the top of the shield, this top edge, click and drag that down just a little bit. You just want to do just a tiny bit like that. A little subtle dip in that line is all we need. Okay, now let's go to the arrow. Let's click on that. Let's right click on this and go to duplicate. Let's turn it blue. And come up here to where it says flip selected object horizontally. Click that once. And let's bring it off to the side over here. Now hold Shift and click on the red half of the shield. And we're going to go over here to where it says center on horizontal axis. We're going to click that once. And come over here to where it says align left edges of objects to the right edge of the anchor. And we're going to click that once so it connects them together. Okay. After you've done that, right click on that, go down to duplicate, go to path, and union. That's going to combine them together, and we're going to turn that black and come up here to where it says lower selection to the bottom. We're going to click that and come back up to your stroke tab up here, and we're going to click this blue box right here to turn the stroke on. Okay, next we're going to go to the stroke style tab, and where it says 1, let's change that to about 15 and see how that looks. 15. Okay, yeah, I'd say that looks good. Alright, so let's go to path, stroke to path, path, break apart, path, union. Okay, let's come back over to the stroke tab, click the blue box again to turn that on, come over to where it says the fill, go to the fill tab, and then click on the X to turn the fill off. And we're going to come back over to the stroke style tab, and we're going to make that about 5 this time. See how that looks. Okay, yeah, I think 5 works. We'll do that. And come over to path and select stroke to path. Okay, The next thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the blue half of the shield, and we're just going to delete that. You could either press the delete key on your keyboard, or you can right click it and go down to delete. Okay. Now let's click on the red half of the shield, hold shift, click on the shield border so you have them both selected, and go to path, union, and that's going to combine them into one piece. Alright, so the next thing we do is we're going to create a rectangle in the center of this shield. So come over here to the rectangle, click on that, and we're going to create a rectangle right in the middle of this, about that big. Alright, now let's turn that red and come over here to the stroke tab, click X to turn the stroke off, and click your arrow right here, hold shift and click the shield so you have them both selected. We're going to center that up on the vertical axis, and then we're going to deselect everything by either clicking off the page or clicking the deselect objects button. So we're just going to click off of the page just like that. It's going to deselect everything. Okay, so we have this right here. We want this to be about, let's say about this big. You could hold Control and Shift and just click the arrow to resize it. I'd say you don't want it like at the edges. You don't want it out here like this. You want it right about in here, I'd say. So let's leave that there. Let's turn that into an object. Let's go to Path, Object to Path, and let's right click on that, go to Duplicate. Let's turn that blue and come up here to where it says Snap to Cusp Nodes. We're gonna turn that on by clicking on that. Now let's go to our magnifying glass and let's click and drag over this so we can zoom in and see what we're doing here. Let's go back to the arrow, click on that, and let's take this and let's just make it about that big, a little less than halfway, I'd say. That should work. And then we're going to click this and drag it over here so that it snaps onto the corner. If you see what I did there, you click and drag it and it's going to snap right onto the corner just like that. Okay, so then we're going to click this a second time to bring up the rotation handles, and this little cross in the section here, we're going to click that and we're going to drag it up to the corner here and leave that there, and come over here to the side handle and let's click and drag this down to about there. Okay, now let's come up here to Snap to Cusp Nodes. Let's uncheck that and turn that off. Let's right click on this blue object we just created and go to Duplicate. We're going to flip it horizontally, and then we're going to hold Shift and click on the red box and go over here to where it says Align Left Edges of Objects to the right edge of the anchor. And we're going to click that so we end up with something like this. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, let's select all three of these. Hold down your Shift key, click on that, and click on that. Right click it, go to Duplicate, Path, Union. Let's turn that black. And let's go over here to where it says Stroke. We're going to go to the Stroke tab. We're going to click the blue box to turn that on. And we're going to make this stroke, come over to the Stroke Style tab. We're going to make this about 12. Let's see how that looks. Maybe 10. Let's try 10. Okay, 10 works. We're going to go to Path, Stroke to Path, Path, Break Apart, Path, Union. So we end up with something like that. Alright? Now let's right click on this, duplicate it. Let's turn that green, right click it and duplicate it again, and then we're going to flip it. We're going to flip it vertically by clicking that button. And let's come back up here to where it says Snap to Cusp Nodes. We're going to turn that back on, and we're going to take this piece and we're going to try to click and drag it up near the corner. Grab it up here, drag it down, and snap it to the bottom corner of the other one. Okay? Hold Shift, click the top one so you have both green pieces selected, and we're going to go to Path, Union. Okay? Next thing we're going to do, come back over to our Bezier pen, click on that, snap the cursor onto the corner over here, click, and we're just going to draw inside this green shape. It doesn't have to be anywhere in particular, just as long as it's inside this green shape. We're going to come back around the edge over here and snap it to this other corner. Click, 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 and snap it onto this last corner like this. And it's going to create something like that. Now we could take that, we could turn that red, come up here to the stroke tab, let's turn that off, and let's come down to opacity, and let's drop that in half. Okay, now let's go back up to the arrow, click on that. We're going to take this green object we just created, and we're going to raise this to the top. Okay, so click this button right here that says raise selection to the top, and hold down your shift key and click on that red selection in the middle. So you have them both selected. Now go to Path, Difference. So you end up with something like this right here. The next thing we're going to do, let's zoom back out. You could press the 1 key on your keyboard to zoom back out. Let's click on this shield, right click it, go to Duplicate, go to Path, Break Apart, Path, Union, and then holding your shift key, click on that red selection we just created. So you have them both selected. Go to Path, Difference. So you end up with something like that. Okay? Okay, so what we're going to do next is let's go to the magnifying glass and let's zoom in over this blue selection right here. Let's click and drag over that and zoom into there. Go back to your arrow and click on this blue piece right here. Actually, you know what? When you click, it's going to select this piece right here. So we're going to take that and we're going to drop that to the bottom for now. All right? You can do that by clicking this button right here. Drop that to the bottom. And then you'll be able to click on this blue selection right here. So click that. Then right-click it. Go to Duplicate. Turn that red. Right-click it again. Duplicate it again. Turn that blue. And holding your Control key, just click and drag this down to about there. And then hold Shift and Alt and click on that again so you have both of them selected. And go to Path, Difference. Now let's hold Control and click and drag this down to about here. Right click it, duplicate. Holding Control, click and drag this down to the bottom about here. Just eyeball it for the time being. You want it to be about the same distance. We're going to center everything and make it proportional in a second, so just eyeball it for now. Right click that, go to Duplicate, hold Control and click and drag this one to the center, about there. Then right click on that again, duplicate, hold Control, click and drag this one about here. Right click it again, duplicate, hold Control, click and drag this down to about there. So we end up with something like that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to hold the Shift key and we're going to go and click on each one of these red lines we just created so we have them all selected. Okay? Once you've done that, come down here to your Align and Distribute menu. And down here where it says Make Vertical Gaps Between Objects Equal, click that once and that's going to space everything out evenly. Once you've done that, go to Path, Union, and hold Shift and Alt and click on that again. So you have the blue line, you have the red lines as well as the blue object selected. And let's center that up on the horizontal axis. Just like that. Now click off of the graphic to deselect everything. And then just click on these red lines. Right click it. Go to Duplicate. Come up here to where it says Flip Selected Objects Horizontally. Click that once. And then come over here. Hold your Shift key and click on that blue box so you have both of those selected and come up to here where it says Center on Vertical Axis. We're going to click that. So we end up with something like this, okay? Now press the 1 key on your keyboard to zoom back out, deselect everything, and what we're going to do next is we're going to click on the shield, hold Shift, click on that red piece on the bottom, and go to Path, Union. And then try to select this You know what? Let's go to the magnifying glass and zoom back into the edge here. Over this whole left-hand section, let's zoom into there. Go back to your arrow. Click on this black border of our little banner here. Try to select that. Click on that. Hold Shift. Click on the shield. And go to Path, Union. And then click on the red lines and then hold Alt and click on it again so it selects the blue square on the bottom. And then hold Shift and click on this red rectangle in the middle. Path, Union. Come over here, do the same thing. Click on the red lines, then hold Alt and click on them again so it selects the layer below it. And then hold Shift and click on the red square in the middle. Path, Union. And holding Shift, let's click on this red, holding Shift, let's click on the red. We want the red thing selected and the shield as well. So we want both the red rectangle selected and the shield. And go to Path, Difference. Okay? Now let's hold Shift and click on the red lines and go to Path, Union. Hold Shift and click on these red lines and go to Path, Union. And then click 1 on your keyboard to zoom back out. Okay? Now let's turn that red. Let's right click it, go to Duplicate, Path, Break Apart, Path, Union. Let's turn that black and let's drop this to the bottom by clicking this button up here. It's going to drop that to the very bottom. And come up here to the Stroke tab and let's turn that on by clicking the blue box. Alright? Now come over to the Stroke Style. It's going to be set at 10. Let's try 15, see how that looks. Okay, yeah, we'll use that. Use 15 and then go to Path, Stroke to Path, Path, Break Apart, Path, Union. So we end up with something like that. Now come back over to the Stroke tab, click the blue box again to turn that on, come over to the Fill tab, click on the X to turn that off, and then come back over to the Stroke Style tab and let's make that 5. Let's change that to 5 and see how that looks. Okay, I think that looks good. Let's go to Path, Stroke to Path, and let's click on this whole thing. Click and drag over the whole thing and go to Path, Union, and you should end up with something like that. Now we're going to do our text. So let's come over here to the Create and Edit Text Objects button. Let's click on that. Let's come down here. Just click on the canvas. You're going to see a little cursor pop up. And let's just write, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to write logo. Okay, so we have our word. We're going to go up here to this text button. Click on that and look for the font you just downloaded and installed. It's called Bebas, so there it is right there. Hit apply and X out of that. So now we have this. Alright. Now let's click on our arrow, hold Shift, click on the shield, and let's center that on the vertical axis by clicking that button. And let's deselect everything. Now let's click on this wording, hold Control, and drag it straight up into the center, right to about there. All right, and then let's go up here to where it says Snap to Custom Nodes. Let's turn that off. The next thing we're going to do is create a star pattern going around this shield. So come over here to the star button, click on that. Come over here, make sure you select this button right here that says Star. Corners, we want 5 corners. Spoke ratio 0.375. Rounded 0, randomized 0. And that should be your input for this section here. Now hold Control and Shift and create a star, kind of like that. Now let's come over here to the Stroke tab. Let's turn that off by clicking the X button. Come over here to the Fill tab. Turn that on by clicking the blue button. And let's go back to our magnifying glass and click and drag over this to zoom in, because we're going to have to straighten this out. Now let's go back to the arrow, click on that, And then click on this a second time to bring up these rotation handles. And just rotate this so that it's upright. Okay? You want it to be upright like that. And click the 1 key on your keyboard to zoom back out. And let's take that star and bring it over here. Let's hold shift and click on the shield so we have them both selected, and go to center on vertical axis. Alright, now let's deselect everything. Come back up to the star, click on that, and click on this top handle up here. Hold control, and let's just shrink this down about that small. Hold control and click and drag this out to about here. You're going to want to put some space between the shield and the star. So, alright, next we right click on the star, go to duplicate, come up here to where it says flip selected objects vertically, click that once, and hold control, click and drag this down here, about equal distance. Okay, now hold your shift key and click on the top star so you have both of them selected. Go to Path, Union, and let's bring this over here out of the way so we can work with this. Alright, now click on this a second time to get your rotation handles, and holding your control key, click on that handle, and you can see you can kind of rotate it around like this. Let's bring it back to the starting position right here, and while holding control, hit your space bar. That's going to create a copy. Now we're holding the control key the whole time we're doing this, so hold your control key, bring it down, just bring it around like this. We're going to skip this one and go to this one, hit spacebar, 1, 2, spacebar, 1, 2, spacebar, still holding the control key, 1, 2, spacebar, 1, 2, and then we can just let that go because we're done. Alright, now let's click and drag over the whole thing. Let's go to Path, Union, and let's turn it red for now. And hold shift and click on the shield logo we're creating, and center that on the vertical axis and then on the horizontal axis with those 2 buttons. And then you can see what it is we did here. We put a star pattern around all this. Now personally, I kind of like how it looks when it's just 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom, but you can decide for yourself. I'll show you how you can go about doing that. Click on the red stars, go to Path, break apart, deselect everything, and let's just go and click on each one of these and delete them. Click it and press the delete key on your keyboard. I'm going to leave the bottom 3 and the top 3 because I personally like how that looks, but it's up to you to decide. So let's click and drag over the whole thing. Come over to the opacity slider, bring it all the way to the right so it's at 100%, and then let's turn it all black. And there you have it. That is how you can create a shield logo with Inkscape. So if you have any questions, or if I did anything wrong, or if I messed up any of the steps, just let me know and I'll be glad to help you out. Thanks for watching.